Hey, Social Studies 7 group. Happy Wednesday. We are officially halfway through our third week of home instruction. That is crazy to think that we have been doing remote instruction for 3 weeks and that we have already been away from the actual school building for 4 weeks. Anyway, getting right into the lesson today, we are back on Nearpod, and as you can see from my video, the lesson today is on Marbury versus Madison. This was a very important court case to our country. So it's important that we look through and try to understand it a little bit. Okay, so we don't need to go through that slide. When you get to this lesson, when you get this link tomorrow, just fast forward right through these slides. We'll take a look at our essential question. How has the landmark case Marbury versus Madison impacted our society? Okay. So really where you're finally going to get the actual lesson is on slide 10. So I know when it's saying 22 slides up here, it seems like a lot. However, you're not even really starting until you get to slide 10. So let's read through this. Marbury versus Madison, 1803. But the president said I could be a judge. In 1800, President John Adams ran to be reelected as president, but he lost to Thomas Jefferson. During his last weeks in office, Adams appointed a bunch of men to be justices of the peace in the District of Columbia. Each man would receive a paper commission that was signed and sealed. The commissions were prepared, but they were not sent before Adams left office. When President Jefferson took over, he refused to send them. One man, William Marbury, was upset. He wanted to be a judge. So he asked the United States Supreme Court to issue a legal order called a writ of mandamus. In this case, the writ would have required Marbury's commission to be delivered. The argument. Did you notice that Marbury didn't start in a regular local court? He started at the Supreme Court. Normally, that would be backwards. But in 1789, Congress had passed a law saying people could start at the Supreme Court if all they wanted was a writ of mandamus. Marbury argued that he was entitled to the writ because his commission had already been created. He also argued that the Supreme Court had lost the power to issue the writ. The decision. The Supreme Court argued that Marbury had a right to receive his commission, but disagreed that the court had the power to issue the writ. Why? Because the Supreme Court gets its power directly from the Constitution, and the Constitution says only certain kinds of cases can start at the Supreme Court. That meant the 1789 law passed by Congress was unconstitutional. Congress did not have the power to allow more kinds of cases to start at the Supreme Court. Therefore, the Supreme Court said it could not help Marbury get his commission. So what? Believe it or not, this is considered one of the most important cases the Supreme Court has ever decided. That's because it was the first time the Supreme Court struck down an act of Congress for being unconstitutional. The idea that the Supreme Court has the final say about what is constitutional is called judicial review. Judicial review lets the judicial branch do two things. One, interpret the Constitution and decide what it means. And two, stop the executive and legislative branches from doing things that go against the Constitution. The decision in Marbury versus Madison helped cement the judicial branch is equal with the other two branches of government by giving it equal power. Okay, after you have read, you are going to do this fill in the blank. Go back to this reading. Help you fill in the blanks. It definitely will. I will go through and do the reading right now. During President John Adams' last week in office, he decided to blank some men to be blank of the peace. To notify the men of their appointments, Adam wanted to send them paper blank, but he ran out of blank and did not send them before he blank office. Thomas Blank, the new president, refused to send them. He wanted to appoint his own justices. William Blank, one of the men Adams wanted to appoint justice of the peace, was upset by the situation. So he asked the blank court to remedy it by issuing a blank of mandamus or a blank order. The writ would have required Marbury's commission to be blank. Okay? Make sure when you are done with this, you actually hit this blue done button down here. That's how I can see that you are doing the work. After you do the fill in the blank, there is 3 multiple choice questions. I put them as a game. And there are just the questions, only 3 of them. I've even put which paragraph number you can find the answers. So again, go back to that reading, rewind this video so that you can listen to that reading again. But there is what law did Congress pass in 1789? That is paragraph 3. In order to get to the other 2 questions, you actually have to submit the answer to that. You have to pick one of the questions. Again, go through those 3 questions. Let's reflect. You can answer this poll question. How well do you understand Marbury versus Madison? But I'm pretty sure... yeah, that's it. If you want to do this question, what questions do you still have about the topics of today's lesson? That's great. Otherwise, I am leaving it here. So I know 22 sounds like a lot of slides to go through. It's really only 6. You only have to go through slides 10 through 16. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you on Friday. Bye.